Welcome to Bite-Sized Barbering, where we're going to cut through the noise and we're just going to have a bit of a chat about certain stuff. It's a shit intro, but we'll just go with it, right? I'm Luke. I've been doing this 30 years.
I'm Troy. I've been in the game for about 10 years.
And I'm Jordan. I've been cutting for about 8 years as well.
So let's kick it off. Is barbering easy? Do you enjoy it?
Oh man. Well, I mean, I think if you're going to talk about how easy it is, it's definitely not easy.
No.
But like, obviously, as you do it.
Say you were talking to, say there's people that are thinking of doing this, right? What are 5 things that you love about it, but 5 things you don't like about it?
Well, 5 things I love: the creativity, the freedom, I think the conversations, the relationships you build, and the money. Yeah. Those are like 5 good things about the job. 5 bad things: your body hurts in places that you didn't think they would. There are days that really test you mentally, like to the point where you know what a real burnout feels like, and I'd say the hours can be demanding. I think like also difficult customers, but that's like sort of in any job. But I mean, I feel like it's a job that actually can test you in so many different ways that you don't even realize. Like even down to like, I couldn't work for 2 weeks because my hands got infected because my skin couldn't handle the amount of new products and stuff I was introducing.
I think even COVID proved, because it made us think differently. Wasn't it? Because suddenly a video popped up on my Facebook of when it's like the day before we were locked down, and I'd done a video for Facebook saying, because everyone was saying,
I think I remember you doing that.
Do you remember? And everyone was saying, I'm not going to close my shop. You're going to have to drag me out of my shop kicking and screaming. And do you remember all the posts like, I'm not doing that, how dare they? And then I went on there and said, do you honestly want them to sort of have that power over you to say, like, we're going to close you then? Because once they have that power to close you, then you're not going to get that back. Right? So that's what I was trying to say. But it made me think about, because they started talking about like small events and stuff like that with lots of people.
You get fined.
So
if you
and
find
fines
out.
and stuff like that. So it made me thinking, like, actually through the 2 shops I had at the time, you know, there was 200 people. So I was like, wow, that's a big thing, right? And then I started to work it through in my head of like, you're touching people all the time, you're breathing on them, all this kind of stuff. I thought, wow, I'd never really given it that much thought before. So
because COVID was one of those ones that you're like, it's new to everyone. That's why. So you didn't know whether what you're doing is right or whether it's wrong or not. So by the time you're finished with it, everyone's just back to normal.
And now it's like it like it didn't happen. But like you said, it's you catch things from people, don't you? And there's little things that can throw you off, and you turn up to work and you're not feeling very well. You do pass it on to them. If people turn up, and you do get that. Do you know what I mean? So it's just.
I think that time though, when you do come back to normal, it made you realise how much you enjoy barbering because you've been out for so long. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, as a barber, you kind of miss, because you're always in contact with people and communicating on social media, or you know, they're telling you, like, I need a haircut. Especially on stories, you see everyone's like haircuts, their bonnets are like trash. So it made you realise, you know, we're actually part of the important like community here. We're valued.
Well, I think, and selfishly for me, I missed cutting, right? Mainly because, say if you have a busy day, if you commuted into work, you've had a busy day and you've gone home, you feel like you've done something. But when you just stay at home and you've done nothing, day after day after day, mentally, I lost. Do you know what I mean? I was losing my mind. It felt like, right?
It was tough.
And then it suddenly dawned on me eventually, because the difference between an extrovert and an introvert, right, is an introvert wakes up with you know, X amount of coins, 10 coins for instance, and every interaction they have with somebody, they spend a coin, right? So they finish the end of the day with no coins, and they're usually tired, want to turn the telly off, go to bed and forget the day even happened, right? But an extrovert starts with no coins, and every social interaction you get something back for it. So yeah, I found that I needed people as much as they needed me.
Yeah.
Because I just felt without having something completed during the day, either having a conversation or getting some interaction or something, I was half the man.
Yeah. I guess like, well, bringing it back to your original question, or you know, the 5 things that are good and bad, I'd actually put COVID in both categories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's like the bad things was we realised how unstable it could be in those sort of situations, and the good things is we really appreciated, not only just us, but like the customers, our whole communities around us appreciating what barbershops meant or what barbers meant.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I think it also showed, how difficult barbering is when you're at home. When a lot of people, they're like, yeah, I can do this. This is easy.
Yeah.
But you come in and their haircuts are wonky.
Yeah.
Skin fade takes about 4 hours.
Well, I did.
Like, you know,
when I was sat at home, one of the people that I worked with, one of the PR companies, she was stuck around. She messaged me out of the blue, and she goes, "Oh, my boyfriend needs a haircut, right?" So I've gone out and bought myself. I ordered it online. Obviously, Amazon made a fortune during COVID, didn't they? Conspiracy theory. Anyway, and then so she got these clippers, which were the shittest ones there was. Right, I forget what I don't know if NEC made clippers. It was them, right?
Replica ones.
Oh, they were just dog shit, right? And I don't know if she like ever. So she messaged me. She goes, "I want to cut his hair." I'm like, "Okay." She goes, "Can you talk me through it?"
Yeah, I've had that.
And I was like, okay, send me a picture of your equipment first, right?
Yeah.
So she sent me a picture of this, looked like sheep shears, like just trash shit, right? So I'm like, this is gonna take a while, right? It's gonna take a while. I'll stay with you for most of it.
Yeah.
So I said, put this guard on here, and I'm sending her pictures back with diagrams and whatever.
Wow.
And she did this. She was cutting for like 4 or 5 hours,
Jeez.
right? They had to have a break. They had an argument. She'd had a few glasses of wine, and she honestly. And I didn't get the pictures of the finished haircut until the next day. And I'm like, see, and people moan about paying your prices.
Yeah. I had someone come in, right, and I was looking at his haircut, and he was like, "Oh, what do you think of it?" I was like, "Yeah, it's all right. It's grown out now." He goes, "Oh yeah, my missus did it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." She used nail clippers, like the small nail clippers, to cut his hair.
How desperate
with a comb. So she got that, he was mimicking it. He was like, yeah, she was just like this, cutting my hair. And I was like, how does that work? Don't you have like little curved?
Yeah. With a nail,
it's all curved. So, and you're doing it with that small section, and you're doing like nail clipper over comb.
That's
it just doesn't make sense.
That's dedication.
No, 100%.
For your missus,
100%. And it's funny because like sometimes he'll go home and you're like, oh, I could. His missus would be like, oh, I could do a better job than Jordan. I was like, what, with nail clippers? No way.
They do think that, don't they? They do one haircut that takes them 4 hours, and they think, oh, I could do this. I had some years ago. I had a woman came in with her kid, and she used to bring her kids in all the time. And she says to me, like, and she always used to stand. She was a helicopter parent, right? So I'd be cutting hair, and she'd be buzzing around, going, like, looking at what you're doing, and the kid barely makes eye contact with you, and she's telling you what he wants. Do you know what parents do that? Like, oh, he wants this, and then at the end he's like, oh, I take that short, and at the end when you're finished, they look at the parent looks at the kid and says, do you like it? Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's not his haircut, man, it's yours. But anyway, so she's doing this, and at one point she goes, I think I can do this. I'm going to learn how to do this and cut my own. I'll save having my 2 boys' haircuts. So I literally just gave her the scissors and comb. I said, well, take a section. And there she was, like, trying to lift up the thingy, all like really brave, trying to try and take a section and the scissors, and she's like, oh, perhaps not. So see, they just everyone seems to think they can do it. It's
quite difficult.
How often do you reckon you get people coming in saying, oh, I think I want to try this out, like I can do this?
I think I've had a lot of people say to me over the years that I think I could do it. But me being me, I've always said, well, go on then.
Yeah.
Let's have a go. And Michael, he was a customer, said he wanted to be a barber. He now cuts hair. Ronan, he went off and he did the course.
Yeah. How is Ronan?
Ronan's all right, actually. Yeah. He's doing all right. He's away on holiday at the minute. He's, still the same old Ronan.
Good.
And Louis Louis, who you all worked with at one point, I used to cut his hair as a kid, and his mum, I used to cut his mum's hair and his dad's hair when he had hair. And I don't mean that. And sorry, Mr. Harmon. And they came to me and said that Louis was doing his A-levels, but he wasn't really feeling much of it. And then I just happened to say, because he was always really sort of caring about his appearance and what he looked like. So I said to them, I said, well, he kind of looks like a barber. Next thing you know, they sent him to college, and then I said to him, if he goes to the college and completes the course, I'll give him a job. And then he was the first job. So I have bad people. Most people that have said to me, I'm thinking of giving it a go. And I've said, go on then. And usually, you know, chances are they come out and they're barbers.
I think
perhaps I've ruined their lives, but
I think those people that, you know, look at barbering as an option, they're the ones that are a bit more passionate about it though. They feel like, okay, I can actually do this as a career.
I mean, it's quite easy to distinguish when someone is about to take it seriously or not. Like, the one thing that drives me insane is when people say, I'm gonna try this barbering thing. Like, I'll try this barbering thing. Like, I can do little fade here and there, and I'm just like, okay. Well, when someone says to me, how do I go about becoming a barber? Like, what would be the best route to take? What was your route? You know? Which that opens a whole different conversation.
Well, right? The thing I told everyone that went through the courses, and I'd still tell this to people, that they say, what's one of the key things? I said, patience.
100%.
Because it doesn't matter, like, all right, you can go into a course, you can do whatever, but when you come into a shop, you need that shop. Every shop's different. Every shop, right? And it's like an organic, it's only a little ecosystem. So that shop's got to bring you in. You've got to love the shop. You've got to get to know the customer base. Then you've got to start to post, and you start to bring in your own customers, have your conversation, you become part of that shop. And then over the space of a year or two, you grow a client base that grows and grows with you, right? But that's part of the journey, right? And that's, if you think you're just going to come stand behind the chair after completing a course and be fully booked, it's like a trust element. It's not that simple.
I think it's one of the misconceptions of being a barber. They see you being successful when they see you working hard, and they feel like, oh, my clients are all going to be here already, and I'm going to make a lot of money doing it within a month or so. But they don't. I think those are the people that kind of struggle becoming a barber, but those with patience and want to learn. I think those ones, they're the ones that will grow quite quickly in a way where they can get their clients.
Well, it's a mindset thing, isn't it? So when you first start, you're learning and not earning, right? That's the mentality that I went in with.
You
came to me at a pop-up shop.
I've always wanted to be like, as a barber, I knew it's going to be slow at the beginning, and I knew I had to find ways in learning through myself. There's a lot of trial and error, and you know, I saw you at a pop-up, and I remember just engaging in a conversation, but I was actually looking at how you cut hair, because I wanted to know like a bit more in the industry, or like just basically how to cut hair. And I remember seeing Troy when I was working in central London, and just getting a feel of a vibe of a barbershop like that, because where I was working, it didn't feel like a barbershop. No. Do you know what I mean? Because I was working in Topshop at the time. There's a barbershop in there.
So Johnny's Chop Shop?
Johnny's, And
is that still there?
No, Topshop's closed now.
Oh, Topshop. Oh, is that gone?
I think they're making an IKEA. I think IKEA's going to be there now.
No. Central London?
Yeah.
Like, so when you was in Johnny's Chop Shop, so did you feel already like you was a barber, or you was still at the beginning stage?
I was at the beginning stage because I came out of my barbering school, and when I was there, it was very difficult for me to establish who I was, because I was already charging, well, they were already charging £28 for a haircut, and I've just come out of an academy, and I'm charging this price. I'm like, my standard isn't there yet, but I had to go to that standard. So anything I did, I was very particular. I was more like focused to do well, because I felt like similar to like an imposter syndrome in a way where like I should be charging this. So I did everything in my power to learn as quick as I can to get to where I am. And I think that's one of the things that being a barber, especially when you start out, I think that's the mentality that you need to go through in order to succeed. Because, you know, if you have the mentality of like, I'm already good and I'm not going to learn from anyone.
Well, yeah. if
I think I'm good already. But it's always going to be a learning game in the barbering industry.
Yeah, well, I hear it all the time. Like, anyone thinks, I know it's a hashtag that's been done to death, but you know, every day is a school day, right? But I'm almost 30 years in, and I have to try and keep up still, and I've still got to try and do. And you think fades would be all done the same way and whatever, but the tools are different. Like I've only been using half guards as much as the same time as you guys have. I might have been doing it for long enough. But anyone that sort of says that they know everything, then I'm like, well, change career. Because you'll get left behind.
I think what a lot of people don't talk about or don't realize is the times where, I mean, you've been in the game for a long time, but the times when me and Jordan started to come in the game, it was evolving at like a rapid rate.
Oh yeah.
Even within the 2 years difference between me and Jordan, I had entered a game where 0.5 guards and 1.5 guards were just about being introduced by a while. So it made fading easier. But when I first entered the barbershop, I was being taught to fade with a 0 and a 0.5 straight onto a 1, like, and then from your 1 straight up to a 2. So like, you know, those old school techniques like the flick and you know, it's a lot easier to achieve fades now with the guards.
Yeah, it totally. Because when I first started, if I wanted to do a skim fade, that was a cutthroat, right? And then I'd have a butted
line, right?
I had a line. Fucking hell, man! It was like the equator. It was awful, right? And I'd have cutthroat the sides, and then I'd have a pair of battered sterling 2s. Remember they're like the white ones, right? That zero gapping. I don't know what that was. I just tried to trying to scrub out the line by almost taking off skin, and then I'd be using a pair of super tapers with a dodgy cable, right? And that was it. And they weren't zero gaps. That was it. And that was what we were trying to do. So that was a fade, and I didn't have many of them.
Do you know what the funny thing is now though? Like these days, a lot of people are guard skipping. That's the funny thing. Come back full circle.
It's come back full circle.
But yeah, I think barbering. There's just so many techniques. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's true when they didn't have no 0.5 guards or 1.5 guards. It was probably tricky for everyone.
Well, I remember the first time I used a half guard, right? And I didn't know. I just thought it was a guard because it's used differently, right? Do you know what I mean? So I literally had the bright green one. Do you know the bright green? That was the first one, and it was a pink 1.5, right? So I had this half one, and I didn't know what it was, so I put it on my thing, on the clipper, and literally just went through into 3-month-long hair. Can you imagine? And I literally just and it just I was like, these don't work. That was my first thing. I was like, these are shit. They don't work. Now I couldn't do without them.
No, they definitely changed the game. But from I would say we are separated by generations in terms of when you entered the game compared to us. Like, what did it feel like experiencing that change? You know how it went from just a very barbershop culture. Everyone had their barbershops that they went to it suddenly being all over YouTube, all over Instagram, and then people's game changing. Like, how does it feel?
I think I don't. It's a really good question. And I don't. I opened my first shop, at the time of the rise of Instagram. Right. So I think I noticed that it was moving at a great pace, but it kind of coalesced at the same time as my shop. So I kind of was just living day by day and seeing the Instagram for the shop blow up, and it was all really brand new for me. So I didn't really pay it the attention I should have done. I didn't realise it was evolving at such a breakneck pace because I was trying to run a business, and suddenly it was successful. Psychologically, the worst thing was suddenly, because we were one of the first people on social media at the time, it kind of boosted the shop to such an extent that I had a little shop in South Oxy, and I was getting ambassador roles and being flown all over the world to cut hair. And I thought, at that moment I thought, what the fuck, man? Like, I just cut hair, you know.
Yeah, blue,
so
man.
it was, but you know that the funny thing is that now like we were saying about staying in the game for a long time and trying to keep up, right? But one of the hardest things now, especially for someone my age, and I'm hoping that some of the other barbers my age that have been in the game this long, is that your skill set, you try and keep up, and you know you've got a certain way of doing things, and you're always trying to. But when you get to a certain age, teaching an old dog new tricks is always it's a phrase for a reason, right? Yeah. So you're trying to learn new stuff, but it's almost like you hang around long enough to watch your own downfall, right? As other people take your place.
It's that notion of like trying to stay relevant in the game.
Yeah,
right?
and it is, and you know, you try and stay relevant.
Yeah.
And you know, I hope to stay relevant, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's companies I work for and do things for, but I know I don't know whether my relevance will come into question at one point of like, well, perhaps it's time to give it to somebody younger, right? And you know, which is fine.
We was having this conversation a while back, right? In terms of like barbering, or the person has become the brand, right?
Yeah.
In a way where people will follow you as a brand,
for your distinct,
for your distinct style, your aesthetics, how you show yourself personally, rather than your barbering skills is very good, but I feel like as a person you are the brand now in a way where you are the whole package, and they'll follow you because
they like you,
and you probably have a brand influence in the way you are, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Which I think that there's a lot of truth in what you say there, but it's one of those things you'll see how it pans out over time.
I think like I've always believed that as long as you stay on top of your foundations and your techniques, there isn't a style out there that's impossible. It's just about maybe seeing it once or twice, especially because new styles keep coming in. Like when I first started cutting, people was really on the skin phase, like with a classic style, like, you know, comb over.
I miss those times.
Yeah,
I love doing classics.
Yeah, right.
Jelly rolls and all that.
Yeah, I love all that kind of stuff, and that was always my bag.
Yeah.
And it's very rare I get asked to do that.
Everything's all texture these days, right?
It's all texture, and a lot of people don't even style the top.
Listen, I just want to whack some
salt spray in and just
not some salt spray. I just want to whack like some hard ass like
pomade.
What did they use back in the day?
Well, like black and white.
Black and
white. Yeah, we have black and white. Sweet Georgia brown.
What was the other one as well that everyone used?
Oh, you're talking about the crystal wax. You know the
jojoba crystal wax. Yeah, I used to sell that on eBay. That stuff was
crazy.
You still get it.
Yeah.
It smelled amazing.
It smelled amazing. But I used it for ages.
Dax is the one. Dax is the one where I was like, how'd you get rid of Dax? And I remember someone going,
very liquid.
Very liquid.
Yeah.
I'm like, were you serious?
They had to bring out their own shampoo, didn't they? They brought out their own shampoo to get to try and get it out. But also David Beckham, like as we're talking with that kind of like weird products, is David Beckham obviously went on to have his own stuff, and he was the rise of the whole like men's grooming thing, right?
Yeah.
But he at one point he was signed to Brill Cream. Wow. Brill Cream shit.
Yeah.
And like anyone, but he was with that, and then he signed with Brill Cream, and then he shaved his hair off before a game. Yeah. So then they dropped him. Like, but it was just
Brill Cream on. Right?
Yeah.
Shiny.
But that was so everyone talks about. Oh yeah, he was great for the industry. It's like, well, you go back a bit. He was, didn't really know what he was doing at first.
Yeah. I mean, but even with the styles changing though, like, just bringing it back to having foundation techniques, it's helped carry me through all the different styles. So, I mean, I don't mind that people want to try new things. I'll always have my favorites, like yourself. Like I love the classic haircuts, but I also don't mind trying new things, but I will always try and influence my customers to go towards what I like,
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you do want to stick to also something that is in your arsenal of like, I know if they ask for that haircut, like everyone asks me for a taper, right, because I've got that down to it.
Yeah.
But that took years of perfecting. It wasn't just that I can just do a taper.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was like, okay, I've got to a point where it becomes something. So do you find that, I find this sometimes, if you're doing the same haircut one after another, like the same with skin fade or whatever, like one, that 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 12, whatever, and then someone comes in and asks you for something different, do you find that kind of like, you know, throws you off a bit, or do you enjoy it?
I love it, man. I love the challenge.
It's refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah? Depends what it is, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, it's true. But there'll be times when they'll be like, oh, they've come in with long hair, right? And I'm thinking, yes, I want to change. And all of a sudden, yeah, just the ends off. I'm like, oh, well, why?
Yeah.
Like, let me just do a drastic change on you, please.
Yeah.
Like, they just want a little snippet, and you think you're going to be doing something major because you've been doing skin fades all the time. But there are times where, you know, I'll get, like I was saying, I'll get a wolf cut and whatnot.
Is there things you don't like to do?
Because you know what, I think I proper feel my age sometimes when these young kids come in with certain haircuts that I just hate how they look, but I've got to execute it my way to make it look good. Like one example is the Edgar. You know what Edgar is? And Edgar is basically like,
I'm learning something new.
In America, it's like almost like a 12th grade or level. We don't do 12 grades here.
The
max we do here.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
But if you've seen Despicable Me, do you know Vector?
Yeah.
That's basically an Edgar. Like kids, like the young generation, there's quite a few kids that love that trim, and I hate it. But then I'm always like, okay, let me at least put my twist on it so I don't feel too bad that I'm sending someone out like this.
Because the reason I asked that is that I, you know, because of my hairdressing training, I think it was drilled into me shape, right? Yeah. Shape is everything. You know, your skill set might not be up to a certain scratch, but if you've got a good shape for a haircut, that's going to last them for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever. We're always told in the hairdressers that a haircut had to be 6 to 8 weeks, right? Especially because we do women, so like, you know, and men we didn't really pay much attention to, but it was always shape, right? And so now that's been drilled into me so much so that if anyone asks me to do something high, you know, like eat into the curve of the head, right? I fucking struggle, right? Because in my head I'm going, no, like my OCD or something in here is just going, don't do it, right? And like, oh, really high, man. I'm like, so are you sure? Because it's always finishes here, it's always square.
So then, like, you know, the undercut style, like, remember that craze when Ronaldo had the whole.
I had the undercut.
I had an undercut too, but like that must have driven you insane.
I just when people used to say, like, you remember the hard part when it first came in, right? Yeah. It was always like, you know, up to the line, right?
Like
so you'd end up, so you'd have someone with quite a high parting line. All this would be like 2, right? And then there's all this would stick out, puff out like a tennis ball. So then you'd be clipper over combing this right flat, almost flat topping this bit here to get this flat to the end. So it's kind of got this weird shape and then a line. You know the one? And then you've got the big quiff and it just looked fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a bit.
But
it's a bit much.
I just struggle just now in my head. I'm just having these battles of like, because I think I know best.
Yeah.
Is that right? Am I allowed to say no? That's wrong. Because I know some barbers, and I've worked with them, that when they've come in and said, "Oh, I like this done," and they've actually said, "No, I'm not doing that because that looks shit." They've actually said that to a customer, and I'm like, "Well, that's not really your decision, or is it? Are you in a position of power where your decision means more than the customer?" I don't know. It's a weird one.
I'm sort of, I judge the situation really, and I think if the customer's receptive enough for me to be like, listen, here's my advice. I don't think it's going to look good if we do it that way, but if you really want to do it that way, I don't mind. It's your responsibility after that. But, I mean, I try to communicate as much as possible, man, because at the end of the day, like, you have to build a good relationship with your customers in terms of how you communicate.
You do. But you know, sometimes it's like, here's a tip for fathers that take their children, but your wife or the mother of the kid tells you what haircut is supposed to be, right? Listen, because I asked 3 times, but you know when the dad turns up and says, "Oh, 2 on top and the 1 round the sides," and you're like, "You sure?"
Yeah.
And they go, no, is it one on the top or two? Like, they don't know, right? So I've asked 3 times, and then they've gone, no, 2, like, and he's got long hair, and you just think, I'm just going to shave this off. But you've asked 3 times, man. He's like, yeah. He's on his phone, like, completely oblivious. All right, I'm going to whack a 2 through the top. And they go, oh, it's not supposed to be like that. Like, I asked you 3 times, man. And you, so the tip is when they ask you, like, short, don't just start saying numbers for the top.
Yeah.
A lot of the times I says, show me a picture of what
That's the best way,
No,
man.
but isn't some part of you saying when he says 2 on top and 1 on the sides, and you know clearly it's not, you kind of hope that he just says, do it. Some sort of entertainment value.
But it's the easier option.
I mean, a lot of dads that come in with their sons, they come in and they'll be like, I'm just going to show you what my missus wrote down.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you've got like a notes of like what needs to be done.
Have you had someone to say that?
No, do you know the worst I've had, right? And I had to really bite my tongue because I just thought, what the fuck's going on, right?
Yeah.
But I did this little boy's hair, and the father at the end, he was like, okay, yeah, it looks all right. I'm just going to FaceTime my wife. So he FaceTimed his wife and then walked her around the haircut.
No way.
And then he spoke to her and said, what do you think? And she said to him, tell him to take it shorter.